forget this feeling.
Leave this to me.
Don't waste my time.
My turn.
You shall be purified.
Come forth, my darkest thorns!
Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new presentation of Path of the Midnight Sun. I'm Alfred Camon, the director of the game, and today we are here for a very special reason. In fact, it's the Fire Emblem E3 event. Well, it's basically an event where all the Fire Emblem hackers display their projects in a very beautiful way, so check out the other projects if you still haven't. Many of you may not know this, but Path of the Midnight Sun was originally a Fire Emblem hack. It was based on Fire Emblem The Sacred Stones and it was called Fire Emblem Midnight Sun. In any case, we will not distribute the game anymore, so from now on we are just talking about the concept of Path of the Midnight Sun and Fire Emblem Midnight Sun, but we will never distribute Fire Emblem Midnight Sun anymore. After all, we don't want the Nintendo ninjas to come for our ass. Well, one of the main reasons I'm doing this video is because last year, when we first presented the Path of the Midnight Sun, many people came to us saying, "Wow, your story is so inspirational, you started like a fun project and you are upgrading to an indie project, how did you do that?" So I'm taking this chance to explain basically what was the beginning of Fire Emblem Midnight Sun and how it turned out to be Path of the Midnight Sun. And more specifically, I will talk about the main gameplay ideas and concepts that were progressing from a Fire Emblem Game Boy hack to a full indie project. So, the main question that many of you may have is where do you even start? Like, one day you wake up and you want to make a game, where do you start? I think that this is a very difficult matter, because it depends on a variety of factors. It depends on your game genre, first of all, so if you're doing a platformer, you probably won't be as invested in the story, for example, as you will be while you are making an RPG. But I think that different people have different takes on game design as well, and I will just like to explain what is my point of view, hoping that it could be of inspiration for some of you out there. So, to answer the question that I made before, where do you start? It was 2012 when I first started, and the very first thing that I made was this one. Yeah, it was just basically a stupid animation showcase for Farathrust, the protagonist of my game. And, you know, I started from a character, because I really liked that character, and I was feeling that that character could really tell a story based on their feelings and their own experiences. A story that could be relatable and that could inspire the players following her during her struggles and all the friends and people that she will meet in her journey. For those of you who don't know, Faratras is the vassal of the Demon King. Yes, it's vassal and not vessel, because it's a take on the feudal system, so it's vassal of the king, meaning that she has some duties towards the king. In fact, her duty is to keep the soul of the Demon King in check inside herself. And just like in the feudal system, the vassals also have some benefit in return. She dedicates her whole life to this supreme duty, but in return she is very respected and revered by her own people. At this point, some of you may think, oh, she has a demon inside herself. Is this Naruto? Well, dear friends, just because a concept was in a popular series, it doesn't mean that that concept was invented by that series. Please understand. Actually, having a being inside yourself that is neither a god nor a demon is a concept that comes from ancient Greek. In the ancient Greek language, to define this kind of a being, they used the term daimon, which was later translated into demon, probably. But it lost its original meaning of ambivalence between god and demon. I think that when you use the word demon, you mostly think about something negative, something dark, but the original word daimon was much deeper than that. It was your inner dialogue between the god part and the demon. Oh shit. So this was a concept which was later developed by Socrates, which many of you may know. And it was a very fascinating concept in my opinion, and I wanted to create a story around this, because think about it. If you have inside yourself a being that is neither god nor demon, how subtle is the difference between the two? Like, other people, would they treat you like a god or would they treat you like a demon? And this is very present in Midnight Sun, because many people respect Faratras, but also many other people fear Faratras, and they always wonder, can she control the Demon King inside herself? Can we really trust someone like this? I find this fascinating, so I started to create a micro-environment around this idea. Her life at the castle, and the way she interacted with her servants, and the way that common people see her, or the way that nobles see her, and then all the politics behind having a princess hold the soul of the Demon King, so other countries may be in danger if she doesn't do her job well, so they have to trust the princess of another country. And all these kinds of things, I think, that contribute to the world building of your game. So you can see, as I started from a simple concept and I tried to imagine how putting that concept in a fantasy world will make that world develop around that concept. And this was possible in Fire Emblem Midnight Sun, but I feel like Fire Emblem Midnight Sun was very gameplay oriented. And so one of the main reasons why I decided to bring the world of Midnight Sun to life in an indie project was because of this. It was because of money. Money is very important and you can't monetize a fun project. All jokes aside, but not really, I felt like the Fire Emblem formula, especially in the Game Boy era, was very linear. You had the starting event where characters would usually talk, then something happens and the battle begins, and then after the battle you have a closing event. And you couldn't really explore too much the characters without resorting heavily to support conversations or other very tiny things on the maps, you know? So for a story-driven game like the one that I was trying to make, I was starting to feel a bit narrow. And that was the main reason why I decided to bring Midnight Sun to life in an indie game. At this point you may think, okay, so you're feeling narrow with the basic Fire Emblem formula, so just make a visual novel with Fire Emblem gameplay, right? Right, but I'm stupid. I knew that the Fire Emblem formula would have worked, but if I wanted to bring Studio Daimon somewhere, and I had to think about, okay, what will happen to Studio Daimon in 5 years from now, I didn't want Studio Daimon to be known just as a maker of Fire Emblem look-alike games, because I think that our team can do way more than that. Maybe it won't be as appealing as the Fire Emblem games, and maybe it will be different from what many of you may be expecting, but we really wanted to create our original gameplay formula. For example, take the Atelier series. It's a basic RPG, it doesn't really have anything out of the ordinary. You explore, you fight, you talk to characters, but it focuses so much on items and item creation that it feels unique just because of that. And I feel like I wanted to create something that had an impact and a trademark for Studio Daimon just like that. And let's be honest, Atelier Ryza has 2 huge gameplay experiences. So at the beginning of 2019, I presented to a few friends a new gameplay concept based on the 4 core gameplay areas. So I wanted my game to be a visual novel to explore the narrative even more. I wanted my game to have an exploration system like the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney games or the Professor Layton games, because I'm a big fan of those games, and I think that the way you explore the world really gives more depth to everything. Like, you can explore and you can touch a book and and the character will comment on that book, or you can touch a lady and you will go to jail. Then I wanted RPG battles, of course, and I came up with a battle system which is very similar to the one you can find in Etrian Odyssey, for example, which is a series that is known but not too known. And I feel like it's a shame, because it's a really great series with great gameplay, in my opinion. And finally, I had some tactical maps just like in Fire Emblem, even if they work very differently. So I don't have anything too in-depth to share about the exploration system or the battle system right now, because that will wait for another moment. But as for the visual novel experience, I can say that you will alternate your point of view while playing between the 3 main characters, so Sornier, Faratras and Shiori. The thing that you still don't know is that every one of these characters has a hidden parameter, which is respectively sarcasm for Ornier, cruelty for Faratras, and self-confidence for Shiori. And these 3 parameters will change based on the answers that the player will give while playing as that character. So the personality of these characters will be different from playthrough to playthrough based on the choices that every player has taken. The fun part is that maybe you create a cruel Faratras while playing as her, and then you change point of views and you play as Sirornier, and you have to face the cruel Faratras that you have created with your own hands. So I hope you're looking forward to sharing the unique dialogue that you will encounter during your playthrough with your friends. And about tactical maps, I think that you will have a greater idea of how they work once you play the game, but basically every turn you have a maximum amount of time that you can spend for actions. Every action you take on the map will make time pass. For example, if you move from one spot to another, 5 minutes or 10 minutes may pass. If you battle, then every 2 turns of battle, 5 minutes will pass. If you decide to fish or to mine or to search for vegetables, 5-10 minutes will pass. And once you reach the limit for your turn, or you surpass it, then the enemy phase will start. I think this is a quite peculiar aspect of the game, because just like in Fire Emblem, you can take multiple actions before letting the enemies move, but at the same time the actions that you take are limited, and you have to manage your time accordingly based on what's happening on the map. So I hope that you will be looking forward to playing these kinds of map as well. they will be very fun. It was very challenging to put all these gameplay elements together in a very uniform way, because just like when you are cooking and you have 4 ingredients that you like very much, like strawberries, eggs, caviar and lobster, you can just put strawberries, eggs, caviar and lobster together in a single dish and hope that it will work out. I think it's very important for game designers to understand that sometimes it's necessary to make some cuts. Like, you may like so much strawberries, but in your game strawberries just won't work. So don't force strawberries into the game. Just cut strawberries away and you will maybe put them in another game you will make in the future. There is no cook that will suggest you to follow a recipe that includes all these elements together without thinking if they fit together. Except maybe for Jamie Oliver. I have some final words for all the game designers out there, and that is, don't be afraid of failure. Because really, I think that programming a game is very hard, and you have to constantly face failure. Like, you program something, you test it and it doesn't work, it breaks. And that's normal, and I feel like it happens to me every day of my life. But I also think that that's the fun part of creating anything. It may be a game, it may be some art, it may be a book, but that's the best part. Overcoming failure, knowing that you have some limits and that the software you're using has some limits and that your current skill level has some limits, but always trying to overcome those limits. Error after mistake after mistake. Don't be afraid of failure. It's nice. Embrace it. You learn from your own mistakes. And that being said, I don't have anything else to say for now. I hope that you are looking forward to playing Path of the Midnight Sun, and that now you have a clear idea of what was the gameplay core concept behind the game. Basically, Faratros. Also remember that everyone will be able to play Path of the Midnight Sun very soon, because we are releasing the public demo on October 30. So I hope that you will be looking forward to testing the game, and I will be looking forward as well to your comments and to your suggestions on how to improve the game even further. Thank you so much for following this very nostalgic presentation. I want to thank my team for supporting me until now. Every one of you is so awesome. Thank you guys. And I hope you will enjoy the game and see you next time. Goodbye!